We're rolling.
We're going?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, hearing. The Protection and Policy Committee for November 11th, happy Vets Day, everyone, 2019, is now in session. Roll call. Is Danish here? How about Alder Stevens? Here. Alder Vanderleest?
Here.
Alder Stoyer?
Here.
And Alder Scannell, the chair, is also present, and we're all here. The game's all here. I'll take a motion to approve our agenda for November 11th, 2019.
So moved.
So moved by Alder Stoyer.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our agenda is approved. How about our minutes for our last meeting, October 28th, 2019?
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our minutes from our last meeting have been approved, officially. Yep,
Give her a second.
I'm gonna give her a second.
Thumbs up.
And we're good.
And we're good. Okay, on to regular business. Consideration with possible action on change of agent for Quick Trip Inc. at 840 South Huron Road. Staff?
Law department has no objections.
Please concur. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Stoyer. Second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And before I go any further, I should state that everything we do here at the committee is just a recommendation to the full council. They have the final say, which would be next Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the room right next door. So if you don't like our decision, you can take it up there. To two. Consideration with possible action on appeal from Ann Corretes regarding the denial of her operator's license. Cortez, sorry, okay.
that me?
Does it have that E in there though? Is that
There's an
is that a
extra E.
misspelling or?
Huh?
Does
How do they spell it?
There's an E after the R.
No, there's no E after
Okay.
the R.
Okay, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, that's not how I spell it.
Okay.
Do I just come up here?
Yeah, I need you to fill out one of the,
Yes, we have.
you need a pen? Is there a pen there?
There's.
Okay,
This?
You could do it up here. Motion to open.
Yep.
Okay.
and a motion, motion open the floor by Alder Vanderleest.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, floor is not open. Before, we should hear from staff first, though.
Just getting the motion in quick.
Okay.
Staff recommendation is denial of the appeal as the appellant is a habitual law offender, and convicted felon, therefore precluded under Wisconsin statute 125.17 and 125.04 sub 5. The felony conviction is from 2007. However, there have been numerous subsequent convictions all the way up through 2017, and I do have, should have had denial memos, which I do not have with me, but she can start speaking, and I can go print those out and then.
Okay, thanks. Yep, I noticed in her
Yep.
appeal she wrote there was some misinformation there and
Yeah.
everything, so,
Yeah,
yep.
so she can start speaking, and
Yep.
then I can go get those.
Okay, the floor is open. It's all yours. Just
All
please
right.
state your name and address for the record.
Ann Cortez and 4217 Nicolay Road, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54311. All right, when I got this back, I do have the felony conviction. It's 10 years old. I did complete probation. I was living with somebody else. They did not complete theirs. They've been repeatedly arrested since then. The drugs were in the house. I did not know. I signed a search warrant at the scene for them to search my house. So I did not in any way not cooperate with them. I cooperated because it was my house. My name was on it. I was convicted, and I completed my probation, everything with no further troubles. I really, besides the driving without a license, which I've been since then, I have acquired my license in April after 18 years of not having one, so that shows a lot of rehabilitation. I have paid thousands of dollars just to get that. I went through AODA, I went through the motions to get the driver's license and I only had 2 convicted OWIs. I don't know what the third one, I've never had a third one. The first one was 15 years ago, second was 10. I do not drink. The conviction for possession of drug paraphernalia, driving somebody else's car, it was in there. Both times, both will show somebody else's vehicle, not my vehicle and my name. Not to say that I should have known it was in there, but And then disorderly conduct was 2003. But that was with the person I was with at the time. Resisting and obstructing, I gave a fake name back in 1992. And that was resisting and obstructing. So I have shown I can stay within the law.
Thank
I
you.
have gone back, got my driver's license after 18 years. Where I was working, I am now laid off. So I've been without work for 3 weeks, which now proposes another problem. So without the bartender's license, I am not allowed to work.
Oh, so once you have the license?
I can go back to work.
You can go back to work, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And has your employer, did write up anything or, you know?
She did not write up anything.
Okay.
She just said, handle it.
Okay.
Handle it and let us know. I was
Ah.
working at R&D House Divided. It's a bar and grill. But I've also just had I find out today for Grey House Ale out on, what is that, on Monroe Road? And
Okay.
there I would be a bartender server also.
Okay. And how long have you worked at?
R&D, I only worked there since I got my probationary since October, so.
October, okay. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Well, thanks for coming in, Ann. You were talking about, you were associated with someone that, there were a lot of issues that went on over a period of time.
It was just, her mom asked me to let her stay with me. And she was there for a short amount of time.
I don't know, I heard you speaking about that there was some issue with some of the acquaintances or people that you were in
And I
touch
no
with. So
longer-
how many, you know, there's quite a few things here. I mean, I just wanted to know how many of those were related somewhat to the company you kept.
Pretty much
Most of them?
most of them. I no longer keep those company. I am in better company of my life. I'm going in a much better direction. Changed a lot in the last 10
They mentioned
years.
about a third OWI, and you said you're not familiar with that. I don't know.
They've got a fourth one here too, huh? Don't they?
That is operating while revoked, not.
Oh, okay, I
OWI.
see, okay.
There's an
So-
OWI second from 2009, but no third.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was just reading the notes here.
Yeah, this one on here, with the refusal or whatever, they put a conviction for first, second, and third, which I was never convicted of a third.
So you're no longer, are you on probation or?
Nope, I've been off probation for 10 years.
Off, you've been off of it?
I've been off for 10 years. I got off or 9 years. I got off in 2010. No further problems except the driving without a license, which I have acquired also.
Well, I'm just looking at some of the things that happened in 2014 and 15, and if you're not on probation, you still had some things that were going on.
Driving.
Driving without a license.
Driving without a
now, yes.
license is everything.
I was looking at the possession of drug paraphernalia.
That-
That was a misdemeanor.
Yep.
And that was in the car?
That was in
driving,
another
but-
person's car.
All right,
I was driving somebody else's car without a license at the time.
that's all I have
But
right.
I have since corrected all that also.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you have any fines or any outstanding judgment as far as any of these?
I shouldn't know because I had to pay everything to get my license.
Okay, so everything is paid then?
Yep.
Okay.
I do have one thing in Racine for driving without a license from over a year ago that where I didn't have a lawyer and stuff, so it's being wrapped up now.
Okay, that's good, that's all I gotta ask. Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else? Anything else you care to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think you have anyone else. Thank you very much. We'll
Mo-
figure it out and
We'll talk.
we'll let you know. We'll vote on it.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor by Alder Steuer. Second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Floor is now closed. Well, gentlemen, what are you thinking?
I'd like to see her get her license, give her another chance here.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion to deny the approval. Would that be the right?
Approve the.
Denial.
Approve the appeal.
Approve the appeal. There we go. That's so much better.
Motion to
That's so much more appealing.
Yes.
Approve the appeal by Alder Steuer, seconded by Alder, I'm sorry, the motion was made by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Steuer. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously here. It'll go on to council next Tuesday, and that'll be the final. And then after that, I imagine you can go right into the clerk's office on Wednesday, and you're good to go.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Good luck.
I just filled this out and
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
just
can
give,
take it.
yep, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're good.
On to number 2.5. Let's do 3. Consideration with possible action on the request by Alder Chris Weary regarding the policies and procedures of the inspection department as it applies to communicating and working with constituents who request their alderman's assistance. Further, to discuss customer service standards and work expectations of inspectors. Investigate the addition of evening and/or weekend inspection hours. Recommendation to be made to Personnel Committee only pursuant to GBMC 2.06 subsection 9, which was referred to the Protection and Policy Committee at the Improvement and Service meeting September 25th, 2019. That's a mouthful. Hi, staff.
Hello, committee.
Fine.
Okay, so following the meeting at INS, some primary things came out of there. So when this was referred over to PMP, it was to look at the policies, and then also there was definitely a request for more training for the council regarding their role in the inspections process. And so that's really what we're going to address tonight, is those two issues. I think a lot of it was addressed at INS, and then there's expectation this will still go to personnel. And so what we want to provide you tonight is really just those kind of two frameworks. And part of it is staff's fault, because we have not had a chance to really train the alders since since you guys have at least been sit, and I don't know how much further before that. And so what we wanted to do is kind of give you a little bit of a framework. So I'm going to start really basic, and then Cheryl's going to get into the actual information pertaining to the inspection process itself. So the first thing, I think the easiest way to look at this is just to look at the basic separation of powers, because that's the easiest way to look at what the role is of the council versus the administration. So with the separation of powers, you have the legislation, or the legislative branch, which adopts all the ordinances, and then sets the budget, which establishes what the real roles are going to be. Like, so you establish the funds that are going to be attributed to each section. You have the employees who have been approved to be paid for, and when you're doing that, you're looking at those job descriptions and saying yay or nay to those. The administration takes what you have approved as the council. It has to actually go through and enforce those. So when the inspectors are out, they're using the ordinance that you guys adopt as the standard for what they're approving or what they are enforcing on. And so when you have an inspector who's out there and telling somebody you have X amount of days to be compliant, it's because that is what has been established by ordinance. Or if they're telling them you are obligated to do this or that or this, it's because that is what is established by ordinance. And a lot of those time frames are given some discretion, but then we run into an issue of application, inequitable application of the laws. So you can look at discrimination from 2 points. From a legal perspective, which is as written, the ordinance may not discriminate against people as it's written, but then if you start applying the ordinance against a certain group of people versus another group, then that's when you start running into the potential for discrimination as applied. So with that, the inspections department comes up with policies in an effort to avoid that potential application of discretion in an inequitable way. And so when the inspectors are out there and they're telling people you only have 72 hours, it's because it's important that everybody be treated equally under the ordinances. And so that is how we maintain that separation of powers. We have that, the legislation, we have over here with the ordinance telling people what they can and cannot do. We have the administration saying, okay, when we're going to apply it, this is how we're going to make sure that we're doing it in the most consistent way so that we are being fair to everybody. The role that you guys take when we are looking at administration of the inspection ordinances, for example, is usually a little more limited. So what usually comes to you guys is people having complaints or asking for exceptions to some kind of standard that has been adopted at some point. And the easiest route is to ask for more discretion on the part of the inspectors to try to change that standard within the administrative section. But because that really runs into a lot of issues, then we start running into it's applied differently based on whether or not somebody's alder gets involved, or if they have legal representation or they don't, then we start running into that potential for discrimination based on how it's applied versus how it's actually written. So when we run into these issues ongoing, the better approach is to take a holistic view of things and go back to that legislative approach and determine whether or not the standards that are created in that ordinance really make sense, or if there's something that needs to be reviewed, revised. So with that, I will turn it over to Cheryl, but I want to see if you guys have any questions as to how that works.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa, you were talking about, I wanted to hear an example of what you were talking about the discrimination. I think you were talking about an alder getting involved, but there was something that you had mentioned just before that, and I just wanted some clarification. I don't
Sure.
know if, I'm trying to think exactly how that was worded, but you were talking about generalities with the ordinances. I think, I'm gonna let Cheryl speak, and then maybe that'll come back.
Okay.
How about that?
Well, I do have one question. I like the idea of trying to move the alders out of the middle of that, the whole thing, and to make it part of more of a process. But I think also, when we're looking at a case where the process may be, we want to look and see if is the policy correct, if the order, it may be that is true in general, but there might be a specific case for an exception, which is, with that then, instead of an alder getting involved, we just have them come to the committee? Or, because what I'm thinking about, I had Farmer Farrell, who wanted to grow plants in the terrace. And that's illegal. But we looked at why, the purpose of the policy, which is to keep runoff from going into the gutter and from keeping the site-based, site things. And so he put in a berm and grass in between and kept, only put low-growing plants. So he met the spirit of the law, and he was able to get an exception. So how would that work going forward from today? Because I got involved on that.
Did
We actually changed the ordinance on that, didn't we?
I tried it, and
I thought
he didn't want,
We voted.
Steve,
ordinance or policy maybe, because I think you're allowed to plant in the right of way as long as it doesn't exceed a certain height.
3 feet.
well, it's gotta be more than height, because there had to be something for runoff. And I don't know if we addressed that.
Types of plants.
Yeah, because with his, because it wasn't just flowers and stuff, it was
Right, it's
vegetables and
vegetables.
stuff, so there is some fertilizer involved. So I don't know if we need to look at that for the,
So that's a perfect
Ordinance.
example, because when you're looking at things, it's not necessarily that you need to go and amend the ordinance in every instance. But when you're looking at your ordinance and saying, really, does it make sense? You have to involve staff, and that's when you can say, look, we can, our policy
you.
can cover this for whatever, you know what I mean? Whether it's something they can build into their policy is a different issue. But the problem isn't necessarily that conversation about what should and shouldn't be allowed, it's how it should be applied is where we start running into issues. And again, it comes down to an issue of discrimination. We can't have the
Right.
things being applied to different people in different manners. So when we're changing things, as long as they're being changed across the board, there's really not an issue.
yeah. And would that be inspections or public works, as far with the example I gave? Because when I went to, Steve was the one who was really involved in all that when I worked with him, and he did not want to change, because I wanted to make a change. And he said, no, he'd rather keep it an
Oh, the
exceptional
right of-
situation.
The right of way is public works, that would be.
Okay.
Yes, for policy.
All right, yeah, we didn't change it, because I pushed for that and he shut me down. So,
That was part of he gave a good example, that's something I was looking at, and there are other cases that have come up over the years that you kind of go, is it in the spirit of the law, or is, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like, I know some council members might get involved, but I think, we should really defer to staff, let them do their job. I think the big thing, and we can talk about policies and how things work, but I'll save that for those. That was a good example.
Thank you.
I'll say, yeah.
Well, I'm not going anywhere, I'll be here all night, so.
Okay, so what I wanted to do was show you what you have access to on our website,
Ooh,
okay?
this is
Now,
a
I
change now,
usually
right?
work in- Listen, I usually work in our own system with Eclipse. I don't work off of the website. So even when we were walking through this, we've made some changes to make it a little bit more easy to find things. But if you just want to look at the screens, you can see, I can walk you through what you can find on our website. So the first thing you have to remember is the cloud. And I've got a handout for you, okay?
Oh,
Cheat
good.
sheet to do this. So remember the cloud, that's your open data. That brings you to the screen, which gives you all kinds of options here. Police calls, inspection records, requests for service.
I had no clue we could get to the cloud. We get access to all this?
It gets better. So request for services, click on that, you can enter your own complaints. There's all kinds of stuff, depending what you're looking at. Sidewalk and pavement, you can click on any of these. Go back up to inspection. This is where you can enter a complaint. So you have exterior building, that'll bring you to a screen.
Now, this is something that citizens and/or alders can do.
Correct, this is open for
It's
everybody.
open for everyone.
So you open this up, you put your name in here if you choose to, you submit it. I think you can actually get a response back on what the status is, an automatic email response back. So you can enter your own complaints. You can always call our office as well if you want to speak to a human, but you can also do it this way, which is just as easy, right?
You'll have
So-
to change your answering machine then. You know the one I'm talking
I
about.
don't know what you're talking about.
Real life human.
Okay, so we go back to our inspection record. So this is the inspection information. If you click on this, you're going to want to type in an address, which is why it's so important to have the right address, right? So I'm going to put in one that we're working on now.
Leave mine out.
That's not my house.
Okay, so these are the assessment records. So you'll be able to tell when it was built, is it in the floodplain, all kinds of stuff. And it's got a picture. Now, this picture's dated because I think it's from the last assessment. Give you a legal description, so
I know that.
information there.
Yeah, you do.
It will give you, if you look on the top line here,
Mhm.
zoning districts,
Yeah.
where you vote, schools, census, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Assessment records, what the values are here. They'll tell you if there's special assessments. On this one, you can see we were charging reinspection fees. We were,
Ooh.
DPW was billing them for lot cleanups. This tells you if there's been a request for services. So a lot of long grass, this has been a problem property of not being maintained. And you can also look up police calls on this tab here, same time. Now, if you want inspection records, you click on inspection records, and it will tell you projects and complaints. So projects are building permits. So these are the building permits that were taken out on this property and the estimated cost and the dates. Click on complaints, and it will tell you all the complaints that we've had on this property. And if you go further, you can actually click on, you see you've got pending, closed and pending here. Here's a pending complaint, so if I click on this actual complaint here, it will give you all the inspector activity. So Eric Crummy, Marcus, Scott Nelson, these are all inspectors, and these are the number of times they visited this property. These are the complaints, what the ordinance
Is it normal to
is.
have multiple inspectors?
It can be if it starts out, like this started out as like a site type of a thing. Scott Nelson was working on it because there's also some exterior repairs that need to be made. So, but you can see the complaints on the bottom, and then they need to be completed by and when they're corrected by. Now, this is a problem property for us. That's why I pulled it up, because you'll see these things aren't completed. Tarp on the roof, same thing. You can see we've been out on a lot for this one here, right? And this hasn't been completed. Luckily, it's for sale now, so we think we've gotten the owner to try to sell it. So,
The owner
so
doesn't live in town.
the owner lives in Amsterdam. That poses another problem. So-
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Wow.
So-
How in the hell do you buy a property in Green Bay when you're living in
Well-
Amsterdam?
It's money.
Okay, so that should give you the lion's share of the information you need on what's happening with the property. One more thing up here, which is kind of cool, is this street view map. If you click on that and then view map, it'll actually take you to the street view and the parcel. So you can kind of see, I mean, it's a cool program.
So all our inspection records are on this,
Correct.
okay?
Cool.
So I wanted to just show you and walk you through our website because I wasn't even aware.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm aware of some of this because I've
Mhm.
used some of it, but, there's other materials or things that are on here that would be very helpful for use. Is this something that could be shown at council?
Yes,
I think that would be important.
I would like to show this at council.
Could you?
The one thing you
Could
don't
I?
see on here is what's called complaint tracking. It's where the inspectors write notes. And oftentimes, there are things in those notes that are confidential.
Right.
That's really not open to anybody other than the inspector. So that's what you don't see on that, but you see how many times they've been there and what there's a lot of information there. So,
Okay, all right.
I'm
I
gonna
got
have.
one quick question for you,
Yep.
Cheryl. On that particular property now, as far as collecting the money
Had to pick one in my district,
for the
thank you.
fees, is that something that's ongoing?
Yes, in fact, our reinspection fees just hit the tax rolls, the unpaid ones
Are they
this
going to
year.
tax rolls?
Yes, they are.
Now, what do we do with someone from Amsterdam? How do we,
Well, that's part of the, that
do
was
we
part
do we
of,
contact Interpol?
that was part of the problem, is that we couldn't cite this person because he'd come in and out of town to do the fix-up. So we were challenged with how to deal with this one, but I think we've got somewhere.
Damn.
Up for sale.
I mean, Amsterdam.
I'd like Paul to talk to you about some of the stats we have, data with inspection, and then I'll cover the SOPs real quickly.
So I-
SOPs?
Standard operating procedures.
Ah,
Protocol.
I'm talking about-
SOPs.
Yep, SOPs. So just to give you a frame of reference of how busy we are, I'll just give you 2 years' worth of data. In 2018, there were over 3,800 complaints that came in to essentially 5 housing and zoning inspectors and 1 other, so there's a total of 5. So that's 3,800. They touched those projects either by phone call, email, or in person. They actually log something in our Eclipse, that database that Cheryl was talking about, 22,000 times. So now if you just do the simple math on that, that's over 22 cases per day if you were to average it out that the 5 inspectors have to do. It's almost virtually impossible to do that. That's how busy they are. So part of the issue with the emails coming in and having to spend 15 or 20 minutes looking up the data, typing up a response, and then 2 more responses typically to the emails, it's just time that we don't have to do that, especially with what Cheryl showed you, that it's all there
Yeah.
anyways. I'll go one more year, 2019, there were, but this is only through October, there were 3,200, roughly, 3,200 complaints. We touched that 26, almost 27,000 times.
Got a lot of whiny people out there.
Not really, you'd be
Oh,
surprised.
just a couple people making a lot of
About
complaints.
5% of your community is who we deal with, that's it. 5%. So that's the other thing that.
Making the complaints, or the complaints are on?
On,
On.
yeah,
Do you find when there's a complaint, sometimes the neighbor will complain about their neighbor,
usually.
generally? And then what'll happen is inspectors will come out and they find something wrong with their property as well. So it's like, oh, and they can't believe it. So I always say, be careful what you wish for.
Or that neighbor that got the complaint goes out and
Uh-huh.
identifies
Does the
10
neighbor.
more.
Yep.
And then but that's okay, it's because
Well,
it's self-policing. It
I
helps,
guess.
Yeah.
it helps repair the city
Yeah.
relative to what we're doing for these kind of
So
inspections.
if, let's just say all the council members would adhere to this, not, because, it's probably partly my fault too. I'll call occasionally, not all the time, but hey, this, asking for an extension or something like that, is that within our purview to say, hey, can you just, we're not demanding it, but if, let's say somebody has like 5 or 6 inspection fees, like, right in a row, and it's kind of like, then I talk to the person, and they say, hey, we're working on it. What do you want us to do? It's raining, I can't paint, blah, blah. So a lot of times you hear their side of it, I don't always hear
But
your
one
side of
thing
it.
relative
Right.
to inspections,
Right.
re-inspection fees that we do, the only time we do them is if we don't hear from the constituent or the person with the complaint. So even though they're calling you, they've never bothered, typically, they've
Mhm.
never bothered to call the inspector and say, I'm painting, it's raining, I can't get to it, can I have another 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I mean, that generally, then they can decipher that accordingly.
Oh, absolutely. That's what the inspectors do. They have that flexibility to be fair and realistic, that, hey, it's raining, it was a rainy summer this year, we'll give you another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is that's deemed appropriate based on what has to happen at the house.
Yeah. when I'm in the middle, I've been saying, work with the inspector, work with the inspector, work with the inspector. And it's amazing how that seems to fall on some deaf ears sometimes.
Well, they make it confrontational, whereas I think the big thing is customer service, and granted, you're in a fairly tough position that way. Where the rubber hits the road is inspections, so.
We're the enforcers, so it's
Well, right.
never
So
usually pleasant.
We understand the difficulty with that, but I think sometimes for us as alders, usually it's when we get calls from people that feel like they're just being pushed down and they
Right.
can't keep up, so, and if they're not contacting, they contact us, but if they're not contacting you, I just want them to feel that, it's good, call the inspectors, they'll work with you. And I've done that a number of times with a number of citizens.
Yeah.
But, there
I
are
think when
some
you-
that fall through the cracks.
I think, what Attorney Chavez was saying before was that's where you get into trouble though,
Mhm.
where, this guy called the alder, he got an extra 2 weeks. Why did he,
Yeah, why did he?
there's that whole discrimination.
Well, I don't think we're trying to pit against each other.
No, you're not trying to,
No.
but that's the.
I'm just saying that we're trying to help the citizen as much as
Right.
possible, but if you feel it's obstructionist, then.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So-
really, I think, maybe just, I'll take the liberty of speaking for the inspectors. Sometimes the inspectors feel like, as alders, you're working against the inspectors in
Right.
the city when they're trying to do their jobs, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, because you only know half the story,
Mhm.
because you don't understand that the inspectors have probably worked for a long time with this person, and then, a lot of times you guys are the last call, right? Either they haven't called us, or they've worked with us and they're just not getting anywhere. Then I'll call it.
Well, then they'll call us,
Yeah.
think that we can make it
Yeah.
all,
See if I can,
all
right,
good.
if I need some more time,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not fun for us either.
It isn't.
No, it's a tough spot, because
I
you
think
want to
it'd be
be
easier for you to-
sympathetic,
Right?
but at the same time, you don't want to be getting involved.
Well, and they always have the option of calling Paul as well.
And that's,
Like, you
yeah.
could like, if someone calls you and says, look, I think I was mistreated, handled rudely, whatever that might be,
Mhm,
their supervisor is Paul.
Mhm.
That phone call should go to him,
mhm.
not to the inspector, for more time.
You-
Right,
know.
right,
Do you
yep.
find, Paul, that you get quite a few calls from alders? I mean, more than normal? Is there a normal amount?
I've only been getting the calls for, 6 months now, 9 months? Because I just stepped into this role
Right.
where they were redirected. Prior to that,
Congratulations.
Pappy used to get them.
Yeah.
I like it though. I'm
Oh,
enjoying
good,
it.
good.
Yeah, but you
But
get,
do I get that many? No. It's a handful that I
Yeah.
get. I'll see the emails that the inspectors get that they forward me and they ask, what should I do? And that's where we've got to now have a standard email that we send out saying, redirect them, have them work with the
Yeah.
inspector, and then we're going to put in there, go to this link.
To remind you where that link is. to
Right,
the-
and I
so
think
you can
that's
look that
great.
up.
but I would like, at least on my part, when I do call you, I don't want to be confrontational. I try to do it as
Right.
well as
Yeah.
possible, so I'm
You
just
are.
saying, if other alders are doing that, thinking that hey, this is my duty, I'm supposed to do it.
Phone
We
calls
need-
are usually easier because it's more personable. Emails, there's too much reading between the lines.
Mhm.
When you get an email, it's like, oh crap, they're asking for an extension and I can't because of the case and what's going on so far.
Okay.
Got a quick question
Yep.
also. How do you handle people that, just for example, in my district, I got a lady she's a widower. I mean, I think she has dementia, and, she's trying to deal with some of the situations on her property. And do you give them any leeway, people that, in other words, they're trying to get some help, just for example, to have the yard cleaned up and all the garbage and, in other words, things that have been neglected so long. So you're willing to work with these
Yes,
folks?
absolutely.
you know?
Communication is key. If they're working with us and tell us, even what their plan is, even if their plan, if they say it's going to take 2 years, that's probably in excess of what it should.
Mhm.
I always look at it I take that into account, and so do the inspectors. But you look at it from the perspective, if you're the neighbor, and it
Neighbors have
goes
a
for
problem.
2 years,
Mhm.
and it's like, is that fair to the neighbor? We got one that has an issue, then we got to come up with, we have this as well in place, a different solution. So if it's going to take, she says it'll take her 2 years, then we'd bring it to, we have another team that we meet beyond the inspectors. We talk about it. What other options are there? We have, I'll just mention one. There's a loan program where we could say, all right, well, how about applying for this loan, especially if you're elderly, fixed income, you might qualify. Apply for this loan, we'll take care of the issue with a contractor, and then it, you know what I mean, it resolves it, helps them out. So there's other options other than re-inspections. That's not the end all be all. It's a tool we have, really to force communication.
How about a situation where, you know, and we get neighbors that'll call, you know, citizens, and they'll say, hey, we got one problem house in the neighborhood, and they're always worried about their property values going down. If you got a house that's vacant or, and I've always been pretty hard on that, where I make sure that, you know, they tell me or tell you, and then, and you folks are really good at, you know, trying to handle that. But I'm just using this as an example. I have one house on my street that, they may not have a whole lot of issues in terms of legalities or what they're doing with their property, but it's just very unkempt. The gutters are growing out, they didn't have downspouts, they never raked their leaves, they never shoveled the snow, dirty cars in the driveway, they gotta, you know, it's just, you know, you look at it and you go, man, something's gotta be done. And I think I've asked about it, and the neighbors have asked, but it's kinda like, well, they're kind of on the edge, they're doing okay.
They bring it
but-
up to compliance and then it just goes back
If you
again.
looked at that house, you would say,
Mhm.
how am I gonna sell my house looking at that house? You know,
Right.
and that, I think that's where, you know, it doesn't pass the smell test for me, that kind of stuff. And if I see something like that in a neighborhood, you know, I'll try to call that in and just say, you know, can you give me something on this? You know, are they compliant, aren't they? I don't know.
Well, and those are the ones I think that we want to know about if they're chronic, right? Because the
Well,
inspectors will go out, they'll come into compliance, then maybe 3 months later,
But how much
something
can you
else.
really do?
Well,
Because-
go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can look in their house and the
Mhm.
drapes are all broken, and they're just, that's inside the house. I mean, you basically.
And there are some things we can't do, you're right.
You're
They're-
right. So it's kind of
Like
like a
raking leaves is not a
person-
requirement.
No, it's not, I
Right?
know that, I understand that. But I'm
So-
just saying that those are some of the things that pile up, sorry. You know,
Yeah,
things
one
pile
other
up.
question for
I
Cheryl.
can't, I've been with him too long. So, you know, and I, like I said, that's where I get frustrated, because I know that legally, there's not much we can do, but what do? Do you make them feel guilty? Like, hey, clean your
Well,
place
let
up?
me give you an example. Let's say it was litter on the outside, that it's unkept and you reported them for litter, and we went out and we have the ability through law to post it 72 hours to clean up the litter, because it doesn't cost money. You just gotta go out there, pick it up, throw it away.
Right.
So if they don't have it picked up within the 72 hours, we schedule a lot cleanup. What that means is DPW goes there with our guys, we tell them what has to be picked up, and they get billed for it. Now, anytime that happens again, you complain, let's say 2 months later, a week later, we don't have to post it again for 72 hours, you just go do a lot cleanup. So you could say it
Starts the
it sets
process.
a tone that, and then they get billed again.
Yeah, and that usually,
So there's
Right.
tools we have,
Right.
but we gotta know about the house, and then we can put those tools into effect.
so I guess as alders, I think we just want to do right.
Mhm.
You know, we don't want to overstep our bounds. We're just fighting for our citizens and such. So, you know, whatever we can do to make it amenable, I'm all for it.
One question for Cheryl.
Yep.
We had a property in my district in the corner of Wiesner and Carriage Court. It was probably a $200,000 home.
Mhm.
And how long did it take your organization, your agency, to get that one?
That one actually was years, because it was a tax foreclosure. So I think that was the owner occupied one?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was bad. The neighbors complained to me constantly about
Yep,
the
that was,
property.
unfortunately, that was a hoarder house, which is bad.
I know they had
um,
dumpster after dumpster when
oh.
they did take care of it.
Oh, right.
And I think they had to tear the floors and everything out of the whole place.
Oh, yeah, that was a complete gut remodel.
Wow.
But so we actually acquired that through the county for back taxes. We were able to pick that up then and then work with the developer.
It's
to
really a
flip
nice,
that.
nice project.
Is that
Right.
that's not Wiesner?
Carriage Court.
That's not
Carriage
Church
Court.
Court.
Yeah.
That's
Probably
nice.
over $200,000
Oh,
home originally.
yes,
Just-
yeah. And I think it was sold for over that when they did it, but,
That was a
yeah.
long, long process.
That was a very long, and it's difficult when you have owners, especially if you have owners, if you have owners that are hoarders, or they have issues with dementia or other things. Like our inspectors sometimes are social workers. They're working with the county on different things. They try to find family members that can help. Sometimes, come in, help your mom, she's not in a good spot, that type of stuff. So, yeah, those are very time consuming,
That was a
but.
tough one.
So I handed out this kind of your cheat sheet So you can see like what response times we have on kind of our most common things that happen. So litter, garbage, yard waste, inoperable cars, those are the 72-hour notices. We tag them, we clean them up, or we tow the cars if they're not taken care of. Exterior and interior repairs, you see there's a 15-day notice to either contact us or to correct the problem. Now, that's a change for us. It used to be 30 days. You used to get a 30-day notice. The problem was, after 30 days if nothing's done, it's been a whole month where nothing's been done. So we've moved that up to 15 days. You just have to call us. We know that it's going to take you longer to probably do that repair, but you need to give us a call and work with
Just
us
get it
on a plan
going.
of action, right? Unsanitary conditions, we can condemn. We usually give 72 hours if it's not so bad. If it's really bad, sometimes we have to condemn it right away and work with Child Protective Services or Adult Protective Services. Smoke detectors are 5 days, that's state statute. And then, of course, if you need an immediate repair, if I don't have heat, if I have sewage, that's like a 24-hour, you gotta fix it. Landlord's gotta get out there and replace the furnace within 24 hours.
Well, is that
So-
a complaint that'll normally come from who's living there?
Right, like a
Because we don't
tenant will
know.
call
We
maybe
don't
and
know.
say, the landlord won't fix my furnace or
Okay.
something. So when we get the initial complaint, our standard SOP is, an inspector has up to 3 days to respond to that complaint. Unless we're down an inspector, then we up that time to 5 days. So we're down an inspector right now, our compliance inspector, we're looking to fill that. So right now, an inspector has up to 5 days. That doesn't mean 5 days, that means up to 5 days. It may take them 5 days to get there. It could be 1, 3, 5, whatever. And then, of course, if it's immediate, a lot of times we get a call from police department or fire, they go out the same day.
That's noted though, Cheryl, right? I mean, when you get the call and then,
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
yep.
it's listed.
Yep, it's listed on the dates, you'll see that. And then we do the follow-up inspection, which is 15 days. After that initial, we'll go out and do another inspection if there's any no repairs that have been done. The inspectors have a lot of different options.
Paul, I was gonna ask a question. As far as all the inspectors, I mean, there's a lot of ordinances that you have to deal with. And after a while, you get to know them pretty well. But do you find that it's still somewhat difficult to keep up with everything? Or do you have a pretty good, and I'm just saying generally.
Yeah, no, thankfully, all our inspectors are seasoned as
Okay.
far as years of experience doing what they're doing, so that greatly helps.
Right.
But one of the things that our department's doing is working with technology. We want to be implementing tablets, like an iPad tablet, that'll have that stuff right there with
So
them in
they
the
can
field.
take
Not
note.
only will it help them pick the issue that's at hand, it'll also expedite the process when they're doing their field work.
Mhm.
Because right now, it's.
You can
to
enter
be
data,
sh-
enter the
It's
data.
cumbersome,
Mhm.
based on what we're working with.
Right.
So this tablet idea will expedite.
And they
and
have
speed up.
they have those.
They have computers in the car, laptops in the car right now.
But
They
you're
don't have the
looking to
tablets.
get those.
We're looking to get smaller tablets that are more handheld.
Is that all part of the budget or, I mean,
Up
whatever?
one of these years when we have more money.
Yeah, we just got done with one budget.
It's all about the bucks, man.
Yeah, it sure
Yeah,
is.
Sure is.
So once we reach a point where nothing's been done, the inspectors have any number of things they can do. They can do lot cleanups, tow cars. We can do $50 reinspection fees. We can issue a citation. We can issue a raise order, a raise or repair order. We've got something called non-summary nuisance abatement, where if it's those small minor things, we can actually bid that out and make those repairs and then bill it back to the owner on a special assessment. So like, your trees are growing out of your gutters and those small minor things that if we could just get that done, we can do that. We have the home loan that we refer a number of our homeowners to if they can't afford to make those repairs to the property. And then if it's really bad, we can also refer to the nuisance action team where we all get together with police and we sit down and go, okay, what's the problem? A lot of times those are like bank-owned properties that have been vacant for a while. We can't get a hold of anybody. It's a bank out of state. It needs to be finished. How do we crack that nut?
Do you have a database or something that lists all the vacant properties right now?
We
in
do
the city?
not. We
Is there
don't.
something that?
I don't know how we get
What I'm
that.
saying is that usually
but-
we don't hear about it unless somebody complains.
Right.
But we try to keep track of things in our district, but there's
Yep.
always a few that like, oh, I didn't realize that,
Yeah, it's probably good if you didn't realize it, hopefully, but
Yeah.
yeah. It's the ones usually that are in bad shape that, we get the calls on. And then, and we have we have a number of those listed that we're working on now that we're trying to, we have a gentleman who's, we think is in a hospital, we're not sure, that's what the family is telling us, and, somebody's collecting the rent, but they don't know where the rent goes. It's just a lot of work sometimes on the inspector's side to try to figure out, but
Yeah.
we do that, so. So that's the SOP. So I hope I've answered any questions.
Very informational.
What's,
So,
Cheryl, one other question.
yes.
How's our treasurer from Brown County? How's he working with you? Is he doing a good job for you?
Actually, tomorrow, we're going to the redevelopment authority and picking up a few more properties
You
from
approved
the
that
county,
84
so,
more.
yes,
okay,
so, yes.
then with the county, like with hoarders, I'm assuming that would be county health department that would be involved in that? No?
That's inspection, that's Green Bay inspection.
Green Bay inspection, do we have anything on our books about hoarding? That we could take some more swift, effective action?
We can be pretty swift, we can
Okay.
condemn a property immediately if we need to, we've done that.
Okay,
We can give 72-hour notice, that's hoarders are tricky situations, because oftentimes it's owners. And they don't have a good support network around them, so, you run that line of creating this person who doesn't have a place to stay, right?
yeah,
And them being safe in their homes, so, yeah. So I think the ordinances are fine. Don't you agree, Paul, with hoarding? We've got everything in place for that, it's just, that's a human connection type of
So
project we've got.
if you have a property that's really, in bad shape, at least I would think so, looking at it,
Mhm.
you can't really do much inside, right? It's all out, it's basically outdoor, it's all what you see from the street.
I mean, if a property is so bad that you can actually tell it you can smell it from the street, if you see, rodents or that type of, you know what I mean? If it's
Mhm.
that bad, and the owners won't let us in, then we could get a warrant to get inside. We've done that.
Okay.
But otherwise, really, I guess we'd have to have a reason to get in. We'd have
Because you
to convince the judge there's a reason to get in for safety
You've seen
purposes.
situations where you've had, a house and they said, well, I didn't know that was all going on there, there might be some weird
Yeah.
activity. They're very
Sometimes you
quiet
don't-
people,
exactly.
And that's the kind
You
of thing
don't know,
that
right?
we worry about. so.
Often those referrals come from fire,
Fire.
taking somebody out of a house because they've,
Wow.
injured, had a heart attack or something, or, and then we go in we have the information from the fire or police, and the judge will give us a warrant to get in if we need to.
okay, two points, for something alders can maybe do. And I know, like, for resources, I know this inspection does that, they provide, if someone's financially strapped, or some of the other programs and stuff, inspectors give that. Is there anything we can do as alders to help with that? That might be a positive thing we could do.
Being proactive.
Uh-huh,
Well, we should make sure that you have the information,
I
at
would-
least to hand out, first of all, if you
You
don't
have
have
that.
that.
Right.
Or
They
we
have
have
that
loan program
information.
stuff.
That you have that information, so we
Right.
just
Right.
direct them to them.
Yeah, you can direct them to us, or we could get you copies of what we have. You can certainly
Yeah.
share our loan program with someone if you think they need it.
okay.
Hopefully before somebody calls inspection on it.
Right, I was thinking it could be knocking doors soon, maybe that might be something I could.
Mhm. Certainly.
Yep, and then, we've got, as a last resort, people can come to this committee. That's happened a few times. A couple of times we backed inspections, decisions, 100%. A couple of times we
Yeah.
did,
Split
we
the
did,
difference.
we did a little shit,
Little correction.
So, is there anything about that process that you think we should be doing differently, or that process is still in place, I take it?
Yes, to appeal, if you have a reinspection,
Inspection,
to
yep.
appeal. Of course, we always want you to support.
Yep, yep,
inspection.
well, and I think we try to, I think we do a
Your
fairly
job to
decent job,
decide
you know,
whether or not.
Yeah.
It's not
you know,
perfect, but I
right.
think we understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Know that if it gets here, it's already been through Paul.
Well,
That
yeah.
he's already talked to them, tried to negotiate something.
Yeah.
Like, let's run that gamut, so.
Right.
If it gets here, we've kind of done what we can do, we feel that should be built that way, so.
Yeah, well, like I remember one where we kind of, it was a piddle, I think it was $25. And a part of the problem was that it seemed, and couldn't tell, there was miscommunication between a different department. That he had gone to planning, I think, or something, not inspection, and they told him one thing, and then, it was all So,
Yeah,
over $25.
Yep,
the principal.
Yeah,
right.
so, okay,
Okay.
thanks.
So what do
What do
we,
they want us to do? Receive
Well,
and place on file?
To receive and place on file? Okay, and this is gonna be presented to the alders
so what,
as a body?
So this will, what you will be doing is referring it to personnel next.
Oh,
Because there were still
per-
some outstanding items like customer service standards and then the hours. And so because there was one designated committee, it needs to go to that committee before it goes out to council.
Okay.
So your recommendation at this point, if you guys are doing for place on file, you'd be for recommending that to personnel.
So we need a
refer
refer
to personnel?
for personnel, okay.
I would make that motion.
Okay. And as far as
For the next
the customer service end, just out of curiosity, what kind of training do inspectors get to deal with? I mean, because it's got to be tough. What sort of, do we have nonviolent crisis intervention training?
We've actually, our inspectors, I think all of them actually, at least the housing and zoning ones, have been through verbal judo. That was offered through, actually Duke Munker used to do that through the police department. So they've been through that. I mean, we work with them all the time. I mean,
Yeah, it's gotta be
I always
tough.
work
I
with
mean,
them on customer service,
yeah,
but-
yeah. And I would hope we also, not only, as far as the front end preparing them and stuff, but also on the back end, giving them some someone they can counsel with or something, or, vent, whatever, get the,
Well, and, if you read the communication, I just want to make this clear though too, if you read the communication from Alder Wary,
Mhm.
it's with regards to persons who want to work with their alders. We have never had a problem if we write orders on a property and that person says to us, I'd like you to CC my alder on all this. We have no problem doing that. But that's got to come from the owner,
The
right,
owner.
or the landlord.
Mhm.
Right.
And then we'll CC the alderman on that. That's never been an issue. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Well, like I said, I wonder if Alder Wery or some of the other alders are aware of all of this. I mean, maybe not.
Maybe not, and that's why,
So I think that this is good.
yep.
refer to personnel
Personnel.
by Alder Stoyer.
Is that the next meeting? Will that be the next
Just to-
personnel meeting?
Oh,
What I was saying is your recommendation of receive and place on file will be going to personnel.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it'd still be receive and place on file?
Yeah.
Receive and place.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Alder Stoyer. Seconded by Alder Stevens. Any further discussion, questions, anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Very enlightening, very good.
Always know you can call Paul or I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good.
What the heck did I do?
Information.
The next one is
E.
here, Randy.
Yeah, I accidentally, okay. I hit the wrong button.
I hit the wrong button.
Informational. The liquor violation report for November 11th, 2019. Staff,
There were no violations during this time frame.
do I need to go out and create a disturbance?
Please.
Want to get arrested?
Your humor is,
Yeah. Thank you.
that's good. Well,
Motion to
motion to receive and place on file.
Motion for you to receive and place on file by Alder Stoyer.
Second.
Second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is received and placed on file. Thank you. Good work. And I will take a motion to adjourn it
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
by Alder Stoyer.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Well done. Good job.
Does anyone ever oppose adjournment?
I did once.
I did once too.
I want to get out of here.
Really?
I did.